Are we moving closer to the point where we're going to see more and more cryptocurrency ETFs hit the market? It appears that we're at least moving in that direction. And some news that came out this week was that Coinbase actually met with the SEC to talk about Ethereum ETFs. This follows a lot of success with Bitcoin ETFs over the last month or two. There are now tens of billions of dollars invested in Bitcoin ETFs. Most of those funds are under the custody of Coinbase. So that's really Coinbase's role here. They're not offering the ETFs. They're just taking a custodial role, ensuring that that Bitcoin is safeguarded for the people who have their assets in there. So now the next step for the industry would likely be to move to more cryptocurrencies. Ethereum is the likely next competitor, but after that, you could see a waterfall. It could be Solana, Near, Polygon. There are dozens of cryptocurrencies that could possibly enter the market. Obviously, probably, I don't think they would be nearly as big as Bitcoin, but this could again lead to hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe billions of inflow into the industry. And that's really what is driving prices higher right now. So I'm going to go through exactly what we learned this week, Coinbase's role, and why this may be another point of momentum for the crypto industry. And right now, it seems like everything is going in the industry's direction. My name's Travis Hoium. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. And thanks to this video sponsor, The Motley Fool. If you go to fool.com/ASYM, they'll give you their top 10 stocks to buy right now. So let's get to the filing that we got from the SEC about their meeting with Coinbase. This is the official memorandum from a meeting that happened on March 6th. So just a few days ago as I was recording, and this is about a Grayscale Ethereum Trust. You can see that there was a number of people from Coinbase that were there, and then also some folks from the SEC. What Coinbase is there to discuss and help push forward is the proposed rule change in listing and trading shares of the Grayscale Ethereum Trust, which would be an ETF holding Ethereum. And then this is that Coinbase provided the attached presentation. So that's what I'm going to go through is what this presentation was. Coinbase is making the argument that this is a commodity-based trust shares. So basically arguing that Ethereum is a commodity, not a security, arguing that they basically want to have the same ruling related to Bitcoin ETFs for Ethereum ETFs. And then the rest of this is about preventing fraud and manipulation. And that's something that the SEC has talked about. Gary Gensler has talked about the fact that there's a lot of, his opinion, there's a lot of fraud happening in cryptocurrencies. I think that's probably not backed up by a lot of evidence, especially compared to assets where there are also fraud, like checks and with cash. But that's his argument right now. So kind of trying to refute and give some remedies to that. There's a comprehensive surveillance sharing agreement with the CME related to the Bitcoin ETFs. A couple of other things that I think are interesting is the market cap. These are both logarithmic on both the X and Y scale, but the trading involved with Bitcoin and Ethereum is really analogous to the amount of trading that's going on with some of the biggest stocks in the market today. So pretty good argument that the asset base and the amount of trading is compelling from an ETF perspective. And then these are talking about Coinbase as an exchange and as an intermediary with relation to different places that you can purchase Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies. So why is Ethereum getting more attention now? Well, the biggest reason is money. This is the BlackRock iShares Bitcoin Trust. And what they do is each day they update a whole bunch of information about the trust. One of the biggest things that I keep an eye on here is the amount of assets in the fund, $13.2 billion in assets in the fund. And this is only one of about a dozen Bitcoin ETFs that are available today. So this is where I say tens of billions of dollars have flowed into Bitcoin just since these ETFs were announced. So if you're big banks and you're offering these kinds of ETFs, this is a way to generate fees. Yes, this is only a 0.25% fee, but based on this market cap, that's $33 million a year. So that's a pretty good business just for launching an ETF and managing that. So it makes sense for the banks, and Fidelity and BlackRock were the two that came up in this meeting specifically, want to get into more cryptocurrency ETFs. And then also Coinbase is going to have a business in this as well. Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. The thing that I think is interesting is that it appears that we're going to move to more and more ETFs being approved in the crypto space. The SEC is just going to have to get to the point where they're going to have to make a decision. They allowed Bitcoin. I think they were kind of forced. Their hand was forced with that. But it would make sense for them to move to Ethereum, Solana, Polygon, all kinds of other tokens that could potentially be available through ETFs. And that opens up a massive can of worms. Do you just have single ETFs? Do you have tokens that are for different blockchain games in different ETFs? Do you have tokens for NFT projects? There's a million different ways that this could go. And the amount of money flowing into the industry, I think, is only pushing this forward. And this is something that once the momentum gets started, once one ruling comes along, you're going to see more and more of these start to hit the market. And there's a couple of benefits for Coinbase specifically. One, as money flows into cryptocurrencies, Coinbase is one of the biggest centralized exchanges. It has a ton of institutions. It has a ton of retail trading. That's where a vast majority of its money was made, at least prior to the USDC token taking such a big role in its business. So that's going to be momentum from the exchange side of the business. So that's phenomenal for Coinbase because when values start going up, then crypto trading starts to increase. That's what we saw in 2020, 2021. And that's when revenue really started to go crazy. But there's also the ETF side of things. Coinbase is the custodian for these ETFs. So they're generating a fee based on how much assets are in these ETFs. We don't know exactly the details behind this yet, and these were approved, most of these in January. So we'll see what the financial numbers look like for the first quarter of 2024 when those come out in a couple of months. But I think it's hard to argue that this isn't a big tailwind for Coinbase from an operational perspective. So you have both the direct money that they're going to get from increased trading and the money that they're going to get from these ETFs being the custodian of all these assets. And I think we start looking out a year or two, it's likely that the amount of assets that Coinbase plays the custodian role could potentially go from maybe $10-20 billion to many multiples times that if ETFs are approved for a much wider swath of crypto assets. So those are some of the trends that we're seeing in the market right now. And that's why I think this Ethereum one is such a big deal, because Bitcoin, in a lot of cases, especially if you listen to Gary Gensler, he hasn't really argued that Bitcoin isn't a commodity and that it is a security, which he's saying needs to be registered with the SEC. How that would be registered is a completely different story, but I won't get into that here. But that's why it makes sense for Bitcoin to really lead the way from an ETF perspective. But Ethereum is a little bit different. Ethereum does have aspects that you could make a reasonable argument are more like a security. You can have a smart contract on Ethereum. There is a group that runs Ethereum and makes decisions on the development of what the blockchain is going to look like in the future. So there are more reasonable arguments for Ethereum being a security than Bitcoin. But if Ethereum does get an ETF, that does get approved by the SEC, I think that creates an ultimate waterfall where we're going to see dozens of tokens be included in different ETFs. We're going to see all kinds of projects be included, and that could just create this flow of money into the ecosystem. So that's something to watch for. I think that's probably part of the reason that Coinbase's stock has been on such a tear recently. It's not just the news that we have heard of lately. It's the momentum that's building in the crypto industry and the potential revenue sources that it could drive in the future. So that's what I'm seeing from Coinbase. That's why I think the Ethereum ETF is actually a really big deal if it is approved. I know there are a number of people who think that's fairly close on the horizon within the next month or two. I don't know when exactly something like this would be approved or disproved, but if it is approved, that would absolutely be a bullish sign for Coinbase and for crypto values in general. But we will see. And if something like that happens, I will be back on this channel to talk about it. Leave your comments about the future of Ethereum ETFs, Coinbase in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.